Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is now 6 o'clock. I'd like to call County Council meeting, our regular meeting for Tuesday, July 9th to order. Ms. Brandy, please give us an invitation. May we all stand, please, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, precious Savior, Lord of Lords, God of all things, Lord, we thank you for allowing us to be here, to be able to serve this community. God, we ask you to keep us in perfect peace as we keep our minds stayed on you, as we do the business of this county. Please bless those members that are here and those community people that are here as well, Father. And as we get ready to leave this meeting, please keep us safe so that we can return to our homes safely. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Brandy, are you changes to the agenda?
Okay.
We entertain a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
We moved and properly seconded that we approve our agenda for July 9th. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the agenda is approved. We have a motion to approve our minutes. So moved. It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve our minutes from our meeting on June 25th, 2024. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed. Moved. Land use matters and rezoning request, RZ number 2409, approved.
Good evening, Helen Rickman for planning staff. Our first request is RZ 2409 at 1292 Georgia Road. The request is being brought forward by authorizations for the property owner to rezone approximately 0.98 acres of a larger piece of property from agricultural conservation to general commercial. This is similar to some requests that we've seen recently with split zone properties. This, however, is on Peach Orchard Road as opposed to on Sumter Highway. This is the property in question. It does front on Peach Orchard Road, and there's a subdivision to the rear of it. It is split zoned general commercial and agricultural conservation. This is the result of back in 1999. They did corridor strip zoning approximately 300 feet from the center line of the road, and on several properties this left the back balance of the properties outside of the zoning district in the front part of the property. The applicant is requesting this rezoning to bring the entire parcel into a single district. This is what the property looks like today. There is significant tree line between it and the residential development to the rear. If it is successfully rezoned, any commercial development that's done on this property will have buffering and landscaping and site access and all of those things evaluated at time of site plan approval. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at the comprehensive land use plan. In this instance, it is in the military protection planning area. Generally, the military protection planning area is supportive of rezoning to commercial designations where it makes sense to remove the possibility for residential density. In this particular instance, going from agricultural conservation to general commercial is in fact supported by the plan. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. We do believe that it is in alignment with the 2040 plan, and that over half of the properties are rezoned general commercial. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the room?
It's just pretty similar to what we did out there on Thomas Sumter Highway.
It is. The major difference is that this does back up to a residential subdivision, but it's not the only place in the community where you would have community neighborhoods buffering up against or commercial zoning.
Move to first reading.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded that we have first reading on RZ 2409. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. RZ 2409, first reading is approved. RZ 2410,
Yes, this request is at 585 North Kings Highway. The applicant, Ms. Tracy Dance, is here this evening as the property owner. This is a request to rezone a piece of property that's 1.05 acres from residential 15 to agricultural conservation. This is the property in question. The request is coming out of the fact that when Ms. Vance went to go replace the manufactured home that was on the property, discovered that it's not zoned for manufactured homes, and the home that was left on the property has not been on the tax rolls or connected to power for long enough for the grandfathering to be lost. That's where this rezoning request is coming from, is to allow Ms. Vance to continue to use the property as it has historically been used. The R15 district does not allow manufactured homes. The only two districts in the county that do are general residential and agricultural conservation. When we look at the zoning pattern of development in this area right across the street on Kings Highway, it is agricultural conservation zoning, and it butts up to R15 zoning to the rear of the property. I think it's been like this since 1999 when it went to countywide zoning. They just happened to be a historically 1 acre agricultural lot that got pulled into the R15 zoning because there was future subdivision development behind it. It has not met this property and there are environmental influences that would prevent development right behind it. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at the comprehensive land use plan. In this particular instance, it is in the rural development planning area, which does support zoning districts that significantly reduce the residential density. In this case, the minimum lot size in the AC district is 1 acre with 1 unit per acre, which is approximately 1/4 of what the R15 district would allow. The request to rezone to AC is supported by the comprehensive plan policies. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. As I said, the 2040 plan supports the request. The property as it exists does meet the AC minimum district standards, and it will allow the property owner to use it as it has historically been used. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on this room?
Move for first reading.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we have first reading on RZ 2412. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? First reading for RZ 2412 passes. Ordinance Amendment 2404.
There's a RZ 2410 is on the agenda next.
Oh, I'm sorry. I crossed it off. Okay.
RZ 2410 is at 3200 Bird Street. The applicant is Mr. Aaron Young, the authorized agent. This is a request to rezone approximately 32 acres of property from residential 9 to agricultural conservation. This is the extent of the property. It is actually sitting on Bird Street, which is an entirely private road. It is a combination of wooded areas, which do have some environmental factors that prevent development, as well as agricultural fields. The property actually happens to be zoned R9, and this is a vestige that I haven't completely understood. There's a swath of R9 zoning up in the Dalzell area. But with it being on a private road, the ability to subdivide this property is actually not practical. We've had some developers in the past that looked at it prior to the applicant's family acquiring the property, and it just didn't work for development because there are influences from the Shaw Air Force Base flight line, as well as problems with wetlands and perking and other things that prevent density at the R9 standards on the property. There is some floodplain on the southern part of the property, which is mirrored by some wetlands. We don't have a map of that, but they closely approximate where the special flood hazard area is. And I did say that it was influenced by Shaw Air Force Base. It is in the noise attenuation zone. It's also snagged by part of the accident potential zone on the northern side. We look at limiting residential densities in these areas by code. Also, it is in the military protection planning area. In the military protection planning area, any efforts that we can take to significantly reduce residential density on a property is supported by the plan. Rezoning this property to agricultural from R9, which is a much more intense residential district, is supported by the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of request. It is supported by the comp plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on this room?
Move for first reading.
Moved and properly seconded that we have first reading on RZ 2412. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? RZ 24 first reading is approved. Now, Ordinance Amendment 2404.
This is a request to amend parts of Article 3 and Article 5 to do some housekeeping items on the ordinance, to make some grammatical corrections and to remove some cross-references that can be problematic in the future if we do any future text amendments. In particular, it's affecting all of the zoning districts in Article 3, and it is affecting Article 5, where we're adding criteria for conditional uses that have a separation standard for signatures. As I said, this is to address needed corrections and updates that pertain to conditional uses, special exceptions, and agricultural conservation zoning district requirements. There are no substantive changes proposed. This is rather a text amendment that addresses housekeeping issues, as I said, and items related to cross-references and other corrections and modifications that need to be made to carry out the intent of the ordinance. In every single zoning district, we're looking at changing the conditional use language to show what you see here on the screen, where the new items in red are being added to make it clear that conditional uses are reviewed with Article 5A and Article 5B1, striking out some excessive language that we have in there, and then saying that any use that has a C with a number behind it also requires review. And this will go into every zoning district, so basically this paragraph is repeated in every district in Article 3, only where it says insert zoning district, we'll put the proper district reference. Same thing for special exception criteria in Article 3. We're going to update that paragraph to state that they'll be reviewed in accordance with Article 1H4C, where applicable, also Article 5B2 and or Article 5B3. And it's required that uses identified by an S in the exhibit table based by the zoning district would be the ones that would review special exceptions. We are making a typographical correction in Article 3 and 2. When we made the massive changes from SIC to NAICS, we made some updates in the language text to remove duplicative lists out of the ordinance and in place of using the table. And somehow when we were making those corrections in this particular section, it said within the AC district, a building, structure, or premise shall be used only for the purposes identified as a key on the, should have said the AC column of the table of Exhibit 5. Somehow it ended up as RMF. We're going to fix this because that was a scrivener's error and it needs to be corrected. This picture is really tiny and you can't really read it, but everything you see in red is taking very detailed cross-references out and putting in more general cross-references to Article 5B3 or Article 5B2, whatever this section is, without doing the specific letter afterwards in case we added a use or we deleted use. We're not going to have to go through and correct every single reference in the table. We're also amending Article 5A1 to delete the flood hazard areas out of this list. This is a vestige from when we had the special flood hazard areas regulated in the zoning district as well as the flood damage prevention ordinance. We actually took all references from the zoning ordinance to flood ordinance out, and it sits as a standalone document now. And then we are going to add into Article 5, Section 5A5, that specifically spells out the requirements for conditional use of the distance criteria. This used to be a footnote at the end of the article, or Article 3 Exhibit 5 table. We're now putting it in a very easy place to recognize. It has very definite review criteria that's easy to follow. So it's no longer going to be a footnote in a table. It's going to be its own section in Article 5 with the other conditional use. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request to correct some mistakes and cross-references. It also provides a greater level of clarity pertaining to ordinance administration, and it moves certain requirements to more appropriate locations that are easier to find. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose an amendment to this also that I ran into, situation that I ran into probably 2 or 3 weeks ago of it was somebody who's in a rural area was trying to build a detached carport to their for their house. Mm-hmm. And the way the ordinance reads right now is if it's within 10 feet, they have to have it connected to their roof, which was going to cost them, another couple $1,000s to do this. And I talked with you, and you said that the city had had done away with this part of the 10-foot rule. And I believe that, what is it, the international residential codes only requires 5 feet. So I would be asking this council if we could change that to the international code of 5 feet, so these folks can put up their carport, detached carport, without having to put a breezeway going to it. And I may need you to help me with a little bit of what I just said.
Are you interested in completely removing the separation and just letting building code prevail? Because it can be closer than 5 feet if they put firewalls in the building under code. Or do you want to put a 5-foot separation in?
Probably the 5 foot.
Just do away with it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think do away with that, especially at the rural. I could see maybe in the city you're doing this, but in the rural areas, you know, people, if they want to put up a detached carport, the 10, I don't see the necessary of them having to add another breezeway or a firewall to meet the standards. So that's what I was asking. The folks are trying to get their garage up or their carport.
So if you wanted to eliminate that language from the ordinance, it would actually be removing the separation requirement between the residential accessory structure and the principal structure as outlined in Article 4G.
Yes, I think in the county, the rural areas, I think that would work better for us.
If we do that elimination, it will actually apply to any residential property, whether it's out in the rural area or not, and I'm perfectly okay with that. You're correct, we did remove it from the ordinance in the city. We do believe that letting building code prevail is the better option.
I would agree with you, Chairman, yeah. Let's see, individual decide if they want to put a breezeway or not. Tell them if they have to put a breezeway.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make that amendment before we go to public hearing.
I'm sorry.
Any further discussion? All in favor of adding that amendment before we go to public hearing, please say aye. Okay. Prior to council taking the vote on second reading for ordinance amendment 2404, there will be a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this ordinance amendment, please proceed to the podium, state your name for the record. Public hearing is now open. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Second reading.
Second. We're moving properly seconded that we have second reading on ordinance number 2404. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And finally, RZ 2408. Ms. Ruth.
I'll make sure that the ordinance amendment is updated before third reading with the language. There have been no changes to this request since second reading. We continue to recommend approval of rezoning the balance of the property to general commercial.
Move for approval.
We're moving properly seconded that we have third reading on RZ 2408. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
a couple things. I want to start by congratulating the councilman from Dazzle on his last motion. That is about helping people, particularly in the rural area, and that is always a good thing, which is why I voted with him. And so I congratulate him on that and walk with him on that. Mr. Chairman, in our packets, there's a document titled Minutes and Reports of Officers. Can you highlight what this is, who this is directed to, or what the purpose of it is?
This is my first time seeing it, Mr. Watkins, so I don't know. We'll have to.
Can someone tell us who maybe prepared the packet?
I put that in the packet. Recently, council members have been talking about Robert's rule,
Yes, ma'am.
and I just put it in there just for you all to look at it and make any changes if I'm doing the minutes wrong, or you'd like to have any changes in the minutes as I have been preparing. But that's why I put it in there.
Thank you, Mr. Flannery. You're very
Yes, sir.
thoughtful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Under new business, ordinance number 24-1008.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, the South Carolina Department of Transportation is going to widen Broad Street extension right in front of the flag park to improve the St. Paul's Church Road intersection with Broad Street. So when they widen Broad Street, it's going to take up or encroach upon a water line that the city has along Broad Street out there. So the city needs to push that easement back onto the property about 20 feet. And that's what this is all about. So you have the ordinance there, and Ms. Manning has on the screen, and then you have the right-of-way easement itself, which is a document you've seen previously, and then you have the sketch that shows. Well, that's the piece of property itself that we're talking about. You can show where it connects to Broad Street. You see the flag park there, and then there was a sketch that accompanied the actual. So that's a memorandum from Michael Gaines explaining why we need to relocate the pipe and relocate the easement. You guys take any questions?
Any questions?
Move for approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve ordinance 24-1008 first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. There is no old business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Washington.
I do have some old business that'd like to be heard. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess, Mr. Chairman, to begin my comments, I need to ask you, is this body, Sumter County Council, a deliberative assembly?
I don't know what the deliberative assembly is. Mr. Washington, you keep asking these questions without giving me a chance to look into it. I don't know. Can you answer that question, Ms. Bryant?
My opinion is this body is a deliberative body.
Mr. Chairman, did you know that Robert's Rules of Order establishes 5 types of deliberative assemblies, and each type is addressed individually in separate chapters as parliamentary procedures unique to each, and based on that, I have a point of order.
State your point of order, Mr. Washington.
Mr. Chairman, as I have shared with you, Robert's Rules of Order distinguishes 5 types of deliberative assemblies. They are the mass meeting, assembly of an organized society, board, and legislative body. When I raised the point of order during our last session regarding your violation of Robert's Rules of Order related to the chairman's participation in debate, I said then you were out of order, and I assert again today, you are out of order in that regard. To begin, Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate, but this measure is necessary to compel compliance with our parliamentary authority. However, I would urge the chairman and anyone else who may be so inclined or directed to mindfully and cautiously evaluate any rebuttal to the point of order raised here to avoid potential false statements or misleading representations in this regard. To begin, Mr. Chairman, this body insists members adhere to Robert's Rules of Order when it seems to serve the interests of some and limit the rights of others. While that mindset is revealing, the fact remains that until this body establishes otherwise, Robert's Rules of Order is the body's parliamentary authority. Now, as to the purported exception asserted to justify the chairman's persistent and egregious violation of Robert's Rules of Order pertaining to the chairman's participation in debate. The key element in the so-called exception cited by the staff attorney at the bequest of the chairman is exclusive to committees and small boards. Mr. Chairman, this body, Sumter County Council, contrary to the assertion by the chairman and the staff attorney, is not a committee and it is not a board, regardless of its size. I do not know if the chairman or the staff attorney doubted the validity of the Robert's Rules of Order book club, but I assure you it is alive and very active. In fact, I would encourage members of this body and the staff attorney to consider joining. In the very first chapter, you would quickly learn there are several types of deliberative assemblies, each with their own respective attributes and rules. According to Robert's Rules of Order 1.9, the deliberative assembly may exist in many forms. Among the principal types that are convenient to distinguish for the purposes of parliamentary law, as I said, mass meeting, assembly of an organized society, the convention, the board, and legislative body. Per Robert's Rules of Order 119, the term legislative body refers to a constitutionally established public lawmaking body of representatives chosen by the electorate for a fixed term of office. It even provides an example in 1-21. A city council that meets weekly or monthly is an example of such a body. Mr. Chairman, in case you and others did not know, this body, this deliberative assembly, according to Robert's Rules of Order, is a legislative body. I'm confident the chairman and certainly our staff attorney, who were 2 weeks ago aware as they are today, this body is not a board. This body is not a committee. It is a legislative body chosen by the electorate, and that the exception asserted applies exclusively to boards and committees, which Robert's Rules of Order clearly establishes this body is not. My confidence in this regard is based on direct knowledge of our appointment and participation in committees within this body. For instance, I serve as the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. Certainly the chairman, our staff attorney, and all who attend and participate in those committee meetings are cognizant and recognize a less formal meeting conduct, which is exactly as prescribed in Robert's Rules of Order, parliamentary procedures for committees. In addition to the chairman's refusal to comply with Robert's Rules of Order, we now have another problem, and that is the misrepresentation put forth by the chairman and our staff attorney, which was either intentional or due to incompetency. And quite frankly, whichever way you slice it, neither scenario is good for Sumter County. In the first scenario, intentional misrepresentation means the chairman and the staff attorney conspired to mislead this body and the people of Sumter County. The second scenario, incompetency, while certainly not flattering or supportive of the bestowing of confidence in the management of the county's affairs, and while it certainly presents inherent challenges, it does, however, leave the door open to the opportunity to restore trust, given the proper training and education. According to the American Bar Association, lawyers as guardians of the law play a vital role in the presentation of society. Moreover, in fulfilling his or her professional responsibilities, a lawyer necessarily assumes various roles that require the performance of many tasks. Not every situation which he or she may encounter can be foreseen, but fundamental ethical principles are always present as a guide. A lawyer is required to be truthful when dealing with others. A misrepresentation can occur if the lawyer incorporates or affirms a statement of another person that the lawyer knows is false. Misrepresentations can also occur by partially true but misleading statements or omissions that are the equivalent of affirmative false statements. When a lawyer violates the rules of professional conduct, they can face various penalties, including censure, suspension, disbarment, fines, restitution, prison, disqualification, and other sanctions as deemed appropriate. The model code of professional responsibility states it is the desire for the respect and the confidence of members of his or her profession and of the society which he or she serves that should provide to a lawyer the incentive for the highest possible degree of ethical conduct. The possible loss of that respect and confidence is the ultimate sanction. It seems as if the failure to abide by the established parliamentary authority has a ripple effect. Not only does it affect the body, it also impacts the entire community we are sworn to serve. Failing to abide by one rule in some way leads to the violation of another rule, and so on and so forth. In fact, it seems to have an implosive effect. For instance, Mr. Chairman, in you ordering an employee who is subordinate to the county administrator to respond to my point of order last session violated Article 3, Section 2-111 of the county's Code of Ordinances dealing with administrative liaison, which states all liaison between the council and the department heads or employees of the county shall be through the county administrator. I hope the chairman of this body and all those who are subject to our established parliamentary authority will take this point of order as an opportunity to better understand the rules that govern our actions and the extent of the consequences of arbitrary or non-compliance have on our ability to serve the people of Sumter County. Mr. Chairman, I submit we are not a board, nor are we a committee. And the exception does not apply.
Mr. Washington, the chair finds your points not well taken. In other words, I disagree with them. If you want to appeal my decision, you may do so at this time.
Well, I'm asking you to refer to Robert's Rules of Order.
I am going to refer to Robert's rules, but I have ruled that the point is not well taken. I don't agree with it. It's not right. Do you want to appeal my decision?
Mr. Chairman, how can you assert it's not right and you haven't
We will
read
discuss it
Robert's
if you're going
Rules of
to
Order?
appeal my ruling.
Well, I have just stated my point of order.
And I said that it's not well taken.
I don't know what that means.
If you read Robert's rules, you would know what well taken not means. It means that I do not agree and that it does not apply at this point, but if you want to appeal it, then say so.
Well, it's in the book.
It's in the book.
What I read came directly from Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. Washington, are you going to appeal my decision or are we going to move forward?
I'm asking you to do what's right.
I'm telling you that I do not agree with what you're saying, and you absolutely have the right to appeal it at this point.
I would hope that you would do that as an honest individual.
Are you going to appeal my decision or not?
No, I appeal to the chair. I appeal to you.
No, we will not appeal to to me, I have ruled that your point is not well taken
Based on what?
based on Robert's rules.
Read it to me, please. Read the section for me. Quote the section as I did you.
Form an example of points of order. On page 239. After completing your statement, the member resumes his seat. The chair then rules whether the point of order is well taken or is not well taken. I rule that your point of order is not well taken. At this point, you can either appeal it or not.
And so are you ignoring Robert's Rules of Order?
I am saying that what you
1.19.
have
Mr.
been
Chairman, I have
saying
the
is
floor. You can't cut across me while I have the floor. And I have the floor now. And you are out of order, Mr. Eames, as well. You definitely don't have the floor.
You didn't ask.
Yeah, I did. I was recognized by the chair. You were not.
I did not recognize you. I was talking at the time.
You recognized me. Mr. Eames definitely was not recognized.
Are you going to appeal my ruling or not?
Well, first of all, Mr. Eames is out of order, and you need to address that. And he continues to be out of order.
Please, no comments from the audience. Either you appeal my ruling or we moving on, Mr. Washington.
So you're ignoring Robert's Rules.
I'm not ignoring
And
Robert's
if you are, just know you're setting a precedent for others to ignore Robert's Rules of Order as well. Because I will not abide by Robert's Rules of Order if the chairman is not abiding by the rules of order. And the chair has made it clear tonight that you have chosen to not abide by Robert's Rules of Order. Because the book clearly states that this is a legislative body, not a committee, not a board, like was referred to by you and the staff attorney at the last meeting. That's what you said. And I've demonstrated to you that this body is neither. I've demonstrated to you in the book that you chose to use.
For the purposes of county council, when we are less than 12, it is a small board.
This is not a board.
I have met with a parliamentarian of the state, and the procedure in small boards such as us.
That's not what the book says. The book says this is a deliberative assembly.
You can disagree with me by appealing.
The book says it's a
And
deliberative
the book also
assembly.
says in a board meeting when there are not more than 12.
This is not a board meeting.
You cutting me off now. You know, it's funny how you don't like nobody to cut you off, but you don't mind cutting somebody else off who has the floor.
This is not a board meeting, Mr. Chairman. No,
We
it's not
are
a
going
meeting.
to prove me wrong by getting a
Read the book.
parliamentarian.
Read the book.
I read the book and I'm reading it now. If the chairman is a member, he may, without leaving the chair, speak in informal discussions and then debate and vote on all questions. And that is my point. That is my ruling. If you disagree with it, appeal my decision.
I don't have to appeal your
Well, then we're
decision,
moving on.
Mr.
Then
Chairman.
we're moving on.
There are other options. I
But
don't have
then
to
you
appeal
follow
your
those options.
decision.
You take on those options. I am fully content after meeting with a state parliamentarian that I am within the rights that we are considered a small board.
Mr. Chairman, as long as you've been chairman, you shouldn't have had to meet with a parliamentarian.
Look, I don't know everything like you do, and you don't know it until you read it, Mr. Washington.
And I read it.
And I read it too.
And shared it with you.
And
Not only that, Mr. Baton asked for a second opinion.
We're getting there. We got the second opinion.
Have you consulted with him about who you're gonna get the second opinion from? Or is this another one of those private meetings where you make the decision?
I'm tired of talking about the private meetings. We don't have any private meetings.
That's not
I
true.
searched out
That's not
and
true.
talked with a woman that you may be familiar with because she is an attorney for the South Carolina state. Her name is Helen T. McFadden. She's an attorney and a parliamentarian. I met with her and we went over these rules and she told me that this council is, for all intents and purposes, a small board, and the chair has the right to participate.
But it's not what Robert's Rules of Order said. And Robert's Rules
But
of
she was a
Order
parliamentarian,
refers
she's an
to,
expert.
you're not using her, we're using Robert's Rules of Order. And Robert's Rules of Order refer to city council, which is likened to county council. So I don't understand why you would go outside of the rules that you have established for this body.
And
That doesn't make any
I
sense.
just read to you what my point of order is.
Right,
If you
outside
don't
of the
think my
book.
point of order is out of order, then appeal it.
You are out of order.
But then appeal it. Appeal it. Are we going on to the next item on the agenda, and you do what you need to do?
You're
to
welcome
prove
to
me
move
wrong. To prove me wrong.
I've already done
No,
that.
you
I
haven't.
said to move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Before we move on, please, I ask to get a second opinion because of the way the discussion went at the last meeting and things were not clear. It appears that Councilman Washington referred to Robert Rules of Order and quoted some statements in that order to come up with his conclusion. The other person, me, Mr. Chairman, you went to another individual who you say is a parliamentarian, and they had their decision. But I'm kind of wondering now, is this parliamentarian's decision based on Robert Rules of Order? And if it's not based on Robert Rules of Order, why are we even entertaining what this parliamentarian said? Because if I'm not mistaken, we are governed by Robert Rules of Order. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
Okay,
she was
so-
stating Robert's Rules of Order.
So why are we going to someone who's not referred? If they gave you an opinion, they should have quoted where it said in Robert Rules of Order what you just said. Now, if you can't present that to us, then we've got a problem. Maybe we need a third opinion.
We can certainly do that too. But as
Because-
of now, we are moving on to the next item on the agenda.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not finished. Okay? I am, to be honest, I'm totally disappointed and fed up with this council. This council has been an embarrassment to this county. We have done things that, in violation of rules of ethics, we talk about this secret meetings that we have. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of secret meetings since I've been on council. I've never seen so many secret meetings since you, Mr. Chairman, and Vice Chairman Byrd became the leaders of this body. Secret meetings, things that are being done, and when you come back, 4 people, the majority, has already decided what was going to take place and what the vote was going to be. And Councilman Washington, Councilor McGain, and myself don't even know what happened. Now, this is going on too long. You are not supposed to have these types of meetings, but you have them. You continue to have them.
That's a lie.
That's another lie. You continue to have these meetings. You just had one recently with the VA. You just had that. Valerie Brunson with her statement to get additional help. You counseled that at a workshop, the 4 of you. We don't want it. We don't want it. Then all of a sudden, before the council meeting, regular council meeting, there was a decision made that we're gonna do it. But guess what? I didn't know about it. Did you know about it, Councilman Washington?
Council from Myrtle Beach Highway, I had no idea.
And that's what I'm talking about, these secret meetings that goes on. That's right, Artie, you was involved in it. So,
Mr. Bates, since you gonna bring
let's
my
stop.
name into it, can I speak now?
No,
Why?
let me finish.
Don't call my name out.
Well, I'm calling your name out.
Okay, well then I'm gonna talk, because I can
Well, let
remember
me finish it.
when you had
talk.
your 4 Democrats,
Wait,
and y'all had
you
your
talk.
secret meetings, and y'all did whatever the heck y'all wanted to do.
What for Democrats?
Back when you first got on, y'all were always switching to chairman. Well, let's get this. It's his turn this time. Well, next time, his turn. Y'all were having your little secret meetings.
Don't go down that road.
Oh,
Please.
yeah, I know you don't want me to go down that road.
Please
but I
don't
won't.
go down that
Yeah.
road.
Okay, well, don't call my name out.
Okay, no, you're a part of it, okay? And you can leave too, because you're a part of it too,
I ain't
okay?
gonna leave.
Now, we have never had this problem before. We have never had this problem before.
Yeah, when
But
you had
we never had someone who wanted to be the dictator of county council. We rotated that position.
Yeah.
And we rotated it because we didn't want
And who
someone
was
to
the
get a
chairman and
big
vice
head.
chairman? Who was the chairman and vice chairman? 2 Democrats, right? Chairman, vice chairman. Y'all never chairman.
Come on.
Oh,
Wait a minute. You want to go down that road?
I'm just telling you the way it was.
Now, wait, you want to
Because
go
I
down
was,
that
I
road?
was sitting right where y'all was sitting.
Wait a minute. You want to go down that road?
If you want to go down it, go down it.
I mean, that's up to you, because let me say
But
this.
I might be out of order. so I'll go.
Let me say this. When I came on county council in 2005, I had to ask God to give me strength to deal with the members on this council. Because I was dealing with people who wanted to take away my voting rights as a black person, and the black people in this county wanted to take away their voting rights, and you wasn't involved with it, okay? Now, you want to go down that road? We can go down. You were involved in it, okay? So no,
I represent my people.
yeah,
Just like you represent your people.
people.
I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
You represent your people, great.
And you represent yours. That's who elected us. Right?
What are you saying? You represent white people?
I represent the people in District 2.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to make it a racial issue? It's not.
But I'm talking about you trying to take away the voting rights of black people in this county.
I have nothing to do with what we're discussing.
Yes, it has, because they have a lot to do with who's gonna be in leadership positions. And that's our problem. Mr. Chairman, to be all honest, you need to resign, okay?
You're out of order, Mr. Bates.
No, I'm not out of order.
Yes,
You
you
need
are.
to resign because you have led this county. You have destroyed public education, degraded public education, and now you want to continue to lead this body with all those secret meetings that you've been having, with you coming back and lying on the superintendent, saying the superintendent asked for certain millage, which they never asked for. So come on, man.
No, you come on. Man.
See, that's why I said we have been a disgrace.
You have
we
been a
have
disgrace, Mr. Bates.
destroyed and degraded public education. Look at the schools. Only one school rated excellent. Out of all of our schools, one rated excellent. 2 rated good. The rest of them average, unsatisfactory, failure. That's a shame. That is a shame, because who's in those schools? And I guarantee you, if there were white people in those schools, if there was a majority of people in those schools, these white people on council and you would vote different.
Mr. Bates, you're out of
Okay?
order. You're out
So-
of order, Mr. Bates.
Thank you very much.
You're out of order, Mr.
Thank you
Bates.
very much.
Mr. Chairman.
You are out of order.
You're out of order.
Okay?
Councilman McGill.
You are out of order.
He's asking you to yield to him.
I'm not yielding yet.
Oh,
Is there any other business?
Let me
to be
say this.
discussed on this?
Let me
Is
say
there
this,
any
Mr.
other-
Chairman.
I have a comment.
You want to rule people out of order when it's to your convenience. See, you don't want to rule other people out of order. It's a black thing with you. You want to rule black people out of order. But you don't want to rule white people out of order. See, when Vice Chairman McCain was attacking me in a meeting, you sit there and never said you were out of order. You allowed him, and the attorney sitting there looking and saying, you know what? He was supposed to recuse himself, and he did it by giving you a letter on the voting rights of the school, giving you a letter why I had to recuse myself, and you let Councilman Byrd attack me in public by saying, because I recused myself, the schools didn't get their millage. Not realizing that he voted against their millage, Councilman Eden voted against their millage, Councilman Baker voted against their millage, but because I recused myself, they couldn't get their millage. Now, instead of you, because I was looking at the attorney, because he was looking at you, wondering when you was going to cut Byrd off, but you allowed him to attack me in front of the superintendent and the chairman of the trustee board, Dr. Jackson, about I was to blame for the school not getting a millage. See, but you didn't call him out of order. You allowed him to continue. So don't come up with this stuff about out of order, because I don't know where you coming from. Okay, so let's be for real.
Mr. Chairman.
Now, like I said, I have never seen this body so low since you and Byrd took over as chairman and vice chairman. We've always rotated this position. People had an opportunity. Where we're going, Councilman Washington will never be the vice chair. He would never be the chair. His people sent him there. The constituents, they'd like to see him move up, just like all of us did. Just like Councilman McCain. Just like Councilman Baker. Just like Councilman Eves. See, he is in it too.
well, what about me?
You don't want to be the chair.
How you know?
Because you always say you don't want to be the chair. You want to be the
28
chair?
years and I ain't
Well, if you want to be the chair, become the vice chair.
Yeah.
You always voting with Byrd. So, come on. But we rotated that position because we wanted to give everybody an opportunity. We wanted to have leadership, new ideas, everything coming out. But we don't have that anymore. We have you sitting there calling people out of order and allow other people to be out of order and say nothing. That's a disgrace.
Call me out of one.
That's a disgrace. So I'm going to sit down. And I've said what I want to say. But for the good of this county, I hope that when time comes for a new chairman and vice chairman to be elected, I hope for the good of this county that you do not allow, Mr. Chairman, for these 3 Republicans to use you as a puppet. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Washington.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the councilman from Myrtle Beach's anticipation rise for me as chairman, but I do not have that desire. I represent District 1, and I'm very proud to do that. There's a lot of work to be done, but let me just say, and even those on this council, my colleagues, white and black, know this because they've seen the way that I vote, and they know what I say when we're in committee and when we're in private. And the comments I'm about to make, if anybody up here thinks that I'm not telling the truth, call me out. And what I've said is very simple. For me, it is not about Democrat or Republican. It is not about black or white. For me, it is about basic services for citizens. And we are not doing a good job. And we're putting too many other things in front of basic services. I voted with Mr. Edens. I voted with the councilman from Dazzell. I voted with the councilman from Pinewood when they were right. And when what they were doing was about basic services for the people. Now, the councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway, he does have a point. And I don't play into the race thing, but he has a point. We had a presentation by a gentleman who I've become very good friends with. His family, my wife likes his family, Mr. Gettings. And Mr. Gettings stood in front of this podium and told a story about his conversation with 4 council members who told him that the councilman from Rembert, which would be this councilman, would get no help on roads because I was going to be shown. That's what a citizen said, stood right there and said that they were going to demonstrate to me that I was getting nothing done on roads. That's a pretty strong comment. But here's what my residents from District 1 would have you to know. They weren't getting anything before I came on council. As a matter of fact, they weren't getting anything since 1991 when Sumter County Council pulled the rug from under these people and changed the road ordinance and didn't allow any more roads into the system unless the roads were brought up to spec. Paved, ditched, everything. So their response is, they don't care if I lose. What they care about is I fight, because that hasn't happened before. And over time, could be in the next 2 years. Things will change. Things will change. Now that is an example of what the councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway is talking about. I didn't bring it up because I don't play into that, but this council needs to understand this is not the place for egos. This is the place to do the people's business. This is the people's house, and that is what I'm about. And if I have to come in here every 2 weeks and do what I do to get the attention, no, it may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen next month, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, but the time is coming. The bill is coming. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I ask you, do you think that I don't care about the private roads? And me and you have had conversations.
Yes, we have.
And you know, I mean, you're calling me out, well, because I'm what Gene calls a white Republican, that I cannot support you on anything.
I'm not calling you out.
And I'm telling you, I've had serious conversations with you about private roads, and I want to try to figure them out.
Right.
So I'm not sitting here, I feel like you're attacking me when you just said that. And you know good well, me and you have had many conversations, and I am trying my hardest, and I hope we do come up with some solution for private roads.
So let me apologize if you think I'm trying to attack.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
I was just repeating what Mr. Gettings said.
So
He
told you that I told you.
Not you personally. He didn't call it. He said four. He said 4 council members.
Was it me?
I've never spoken.
Said 4 council members. That's what I have been sitting on this for probably a month and a half because I just don't deal in that realm.
So he said what to me. That's what he just thought.
But
I'm concerned about private roads, and I want to solve it.
But we
And I want to resolve it with you.
We can review the tape. right? We can review the tape. The only reason I brought it up today is because my colleague raised it. And there has been a comment from a private citizen publicly. And there have been other comments that have not been public.
But you know
The
where.
answer to your question, you and I have been talking
And we're
about private
to
roads.
figure it out.
And I do think there is opportunity for movement. But the second piece of that is we wrote the Attorney General twice on both occasions. Both occasions. I had to request copies of the correspondence. And I have been the lead council member on this issue. And I've had to request those correspondences. Why? Why? There is a problem with that. Why? And Mr. Chairman, I'm sure you were informed that the Attorney General was being written. I'm sure you saw the letter. And if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, and I will apologize.
No,
I don't have an ego.
I have not seen the letter. I was told about it, but it wasn't in the affirmative where we could help public roads, so we wrote him again. The staff wrote him again, Mr. Washington. I never saw the letter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have seen the letter, and there are parts in the letter that say exactly what I have said. Now, I wasn't going to talk about that portion of it tonight. If you would like for me to, I will, but we can put that off. But the Attorney General's letter says several different things, and it confirms what I said earlier, which is that if the county decides that they want to change the ordinance, bring those roads into the system, that is completely compliant. It said that in the letter, and I can show it to you. And if anybody else has read the letter, it also says that. The other piece about doing minimal improvements, they said that's a no-no. They said that's a no-no. We can't do that. But if we take those roads into the system, certainly, and we can do that based on public safety concern. That is legal. There is nothing that prevents us from doing that. My position is, instead of spending $2.8 million on pickleball courts at Patriot Park, we ought to be spending this money on roads to make sure people can go to and fro. We are being fiscally irresponsible, Mr. Chairman. You do not put new furniture in a house when the roof is leaking. That does not make sense. We're doing golf courses and skating rinks. I mean, I got a whole list of questions about the penny for progress.
All we need to do is sit down and talk about it, Mr. Washington.
Well, no, this is what we need to do, Mr. Chairman. We need to reboot this list, because I'm telling you, as of right now, rural folks ain't gonna vote for this list.
But you already made that clear, Mr. Washington.
Yeah, but I'm offering you an olive branch.
But there's no olive branch with
Yes, it
this
is.
But how can we reboot?
We got until August 15th. I've checked into that too. We have an opportunity to reboot, and if it's rebooted right, I'll support it, and my folks would support it. Mr. Chairman, with all the dirt roads that I have in my district, and the council lady from Shiloh's district, we have, and councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway, even though you're spending more money on roads, you're doing 2.55 less dirt roads. How do you do that to rural people?
No respect.
Mr. Chairman, that is not the right thing to do. And then we turn around and ask these people to tax themselves when they're getting no benefit. I have some questions, but I'll wait until we get to the committee time. But I did request information on the number of dirt roads that have critical passage issues, and the chair and the county administrator was gracious and asked me to stop by his office, and I've neglected to do that because I would like to see a list. I need a list. I need a list. And I also want a packet of information on on the roads that have been done to date. But we have to get this right. That now the General Assembly is sending $200 million for transportation needs to counties. Where's that money going this summer? And how much are we getting?
Who's it going through? How's it getting to
Who's
something?
going to?
Yeah, how's it coming through?
Will you recognize the county administrator, as you told us?
Chair, I'm not aware of the $200,000 that you're referencing.
200 million.
200 million, I'm not aware of that number. Is this something just approved?
It ran on WLTX and WIS last night and this morning.
We haven't got notification of that yet, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We won't probably get that, usually it's sometime around October or November before we'll get notification.
Mr. Chairman, if we get that money, you have any idea about how you want that to be
Mr.
spent?
Washington, you and I have had many conversations. You know how I feel about the rural roads in your area. I have worked, that's how the $15 million got increased to 21 million. So yes, it will go.
But Mr. Chairman, you're doing fewer roads. In fact, I have 3 less roads on my list that I did last time, which I voiced early in the process. I made it very clear that I wasn't satisfied with that. Nothing was said, nothing was done. Before this penny process started, I made it very clear that I wanted to be involved in the marketing to the rural community, my folks I grew up with, folks that I know, folks that I go to church with and visit in the community regularly. I was not contacted one time.
We have not started marketing it yet, Mr. Washington.
Mr. Chairman, you prepare for war in the time of peace. You don't wait until you go to war to prepare. But I'll leave this portion of it for now, and we can. But I got issues, and I'm telling
All
you.
you gotta do is talk to us, Mr. Washington.
Mr. Chairman, if you're telling me that you are willing to consider rebooting this list and getting all of us behind it,
If I find out that we can, yeah, I'll be willing to do it, but I don't think we can.
August 15th is the deadline.
I don't know that it'd be true, but I'll take your word for it.
That's all I have for the moment.
And I've always asked you just to talk.
We
That's all I've ever asked you to do, Mr. Washington. Talk to me.
gotta get some results though, Mr. Chairman.
You got results with me, Mr. Washington. You gotta admit that.
We need roads, Mr. Chairman.
I hear you, but see, you won't acknowledge that you have gotten stuff done by talking to me.
Mr. Chairman, we got the business license ordinance done through much trepidation, a lot of resistance, but we did get that done. We're doing better with the litter through much trepidation, even though there was a whole litter team and we had a council member chairing the litter committee before I came on council, and it was not moving. So we're doing better with litter. But there are other basic services we have to address. We have water problems. We have water infrastructure problems. We have people with brown water, red water. We have roads that have major potholes.
The county's water system.
Some of it is, and some of it is a private company. But even if it's a private company, they are serving citizens of Sumter, and we have to be concerned about that. Just like Shaw Air Force Base and the issue out there. We have to be concerned about that as well. And that's what I'm about. And so I don't want people to think that this is a D or R issue. I don't care about D's or R's, period. I'm sick of D's and R's. What I care about is people. What I care about is providing basic services to people. And everybody on this council knows it. Every conservative member on this council, I voted with them on conservative issues. And if I'm not telling the truth, call me a liar now in public. Every one of them, including the councilman from Pinewood, who's not here today. And I'll also say, Mr. Chairman, a few of those members have said to me privately, I agree with you. Now, I'm not going to call them out because they said that to me in confidence. But they have said to me privately, I agree with you.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, when we talk about basic services, we like to say, for the good of this county, that education is the backbone of economic development. Okay? That means that we need to prepare a workforce of technically trained people that can attract businesses and industry that's going to pay a good living wage. That workforce comes from public education. Now, this body votes against public education. This body has degraded public education by refusing to give them the millage that these schools is entitled to by law. The body here has degraded public education and also refusing to give the workers, non-teachers, a living wage. We had an outside consultant to do an investigation of this school district and found out that this school district is underpaying non-workers $3.4 million. We are not competitive with other school districts. In order for us, we need to recognize that we have a high poverty rate in Sumter County, 20.5% poverty rate. That's 7% higher than the state average. We have a lot of poor people in Sumter County. Let's be for real. But how do we help them? By providing them with a top quality education so that they can advance and get jobs. We got students graduating from school. I just talked to a school teacher the other day who said we got kids graduating, can't even read or write. Cannot even read or write. Now what kind of job they going to get? And who are they going to attract to come here to Sumter? What kind of business and industry want to come here to Sumter when you can't get them a workforce? So this body has turned its back by denying the millage that the schools are entitled to, and as a result, it has degraded public education. When the school board came to us and said, we want money because we have not given our non-teachers a cost of living allowance in 2 years. In 2 years, we put that up for a vote. The 4 of you voted it down. They came once and said, we wanted $300,000 for the Kingsbury Elementary School because they have an after-school program that's helping the students and being offset by payment of parents helping out. But they wanted $300,000. We voted them down. So how are we going to sit back and say we want these parents of these low-income kids that you don't give a heck about? We want them to put an 8-year tax on themselves so that the upper and middle class can have pickleball courts, so that they can have walking trails. Education is the backbone of economic development. Education is one of our top basic services. What's good about riding down a paved road if your kid can't read? And your kid have no future? That's what we got to look at. We have gotten away from basic education as a means to move this county forward. So don't talk to me about asking for it. I don't support the penny tax. And I don't mind saying it, because if you don't support the education of low-income kids, you don't support the parents who's working in them school districts and getting slave wages, how the heck can I encourage them people to vote for a penny tax? I will not do it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a comment. Mr. Baker, you talk that talk, and what you talked about Title I money, right? Wasn't it just last year? Title I money is for the poor, poverty students. Is that correct? Okay, well, how in the world did it go into teacher checkbooks? Because the schools didn't use all the Title I money. So what the district turned around and did was gave teachers a bonus. And the schools that used up all the Title I money, they didn't get anything. And that, for some reason, that just bothered me that money doesn't belong to that teacher. That money belonged in that classroom. If they'd at least given the teachers a bonus and said, well, use the money in the classroom, I'd have been all right with it. They just gave them a bonus. Some teachers got $10,000 bonuses last year. But I haven't heard you say a word about where this Title I money that belonged to the students was going in the teachers' checkbooks. Not a word have I heard you mention that. Do you even know about it?
Mr. Baker, Councilman Baker.
You do know about it, right?
You know, I heard about when the superintendent came, that he gave teachers, people.
This is Title I money. He
Okay,
gave teachers
okay.
Title I money.
And the reason why he gave it to them, because let me say something.
Because they didn't spend it for the whole year. They had left over. Which other schools spent it?
Councilman Washington can confirm this.
Oh, did y'all have to see
When Dr. Wright came on, Dr. Wright said,
oh,
you know, I have an individual who came to me and said, Dr. Wright, I can't live off $11,000 a year. And Dr. Wright didn't believe him. Said, wait a minute.
I thought we were talking Title I money.
So he went to the finance officer and said, you know, check this out. Found out that after the man paid for his insurance and tax and everything, he was getting $11,000 a year. Now, who the heck can
We're
live
talking
off
about Title I money for the poor.
It's
the
hard for
poverty.
me to live off $11,000
You
a
dodging
month.
that question.
Well, so when Dr. Wright came, he gave these people a stipend. You know what they used that money for? To help to pay for all the credit that they had to get to survive. That's what a lot of them did. I talked to them. I talked to the people.
And Mr.
And
Baker,
another thing, I asked them.
And then I'll be quiet.
Okay.
I have gone to that school district, I don't know how many times, and I said, if you will come up with a plan and tell me about it and how we can do this to where if a kid leaves third grade, we can't have kids leave third grade and can't read. That's the whole problem. And guess what? If you got 25, 29 kids in a classroom, that's where the problem is. They come to me and tell me that I need 15 more teachers so we can reduce the class size and teach those kids and not one time does the school district come back to me with a plan about how we can not let a kid leave third grade without reading.
Okay.
And if it takes 15 kids in a classroom for a teacher to be able to teach them to read, I would be willing to do that. But they've never come to me, and I've asked for it. I've always brought that up to them. Don't let a kid leave third grade until they can read.
Amen. Amen.
And if we'd have done that 10 years ago, maybe we'd been in a different spot right now.
And I know.
And I would have been willing to probably.
I know the council lady is sitting here. And she's not involved in anything.
Well, I think
she remember when we asked for that little bit of money to help Kingsburg Elementary School so that they could continue their after-school program, which the parents were helping to pay for, so that they can learn how to read. We didn't give them the money.
Well, they shouldn't have had to do that.
That's right.
They should have learned.
Why did we give them the money? You voted against giving them the money.
So
don't come up with all this stuff about you can this and you can that.
Okay.
When the school district came and said our work staff, non-teachers, are not getting paid a cost of living, a living wage. and we want to give them a cost of living increase that we give to every county employee every year. They get a 3% cost of living increase. Come hell or high water, we gonna give it to them. But when the schools come and say, we need the money that we are entitled to so that we can give these people a cost of living increase, we vote them down.
Mr.
So come on, don't
Mr.
tell
Baker,
me, don't tell me.
I'm sure you remember that, what was it, when the lady from the state, was their superintendent. She came to us and said that she had just given $800,000 for raises for the folks in the district office. And then she said, and I want to give a 1% raise to our supporting staff. And I raised Cain about that. I said, you give them a 1% raise, they're going to lose money on their paycheck. And I didn't hear you make one comment about it, but it was sure all right to give the money. Some people got $20,000 raises up there in the district office. And they will give a 1% raise to the support staff? And you didn't say one word about it. I had to say something about it.
Were this people that get those raises, were they underpaid?
Huh?
Were they underpaid, or they just glorified them and gave them?
And you know what
good
she
money?
said? You know what she said?
What?
You don't remember? She said, well, I had to adjust these salaries from when it was District 17 and District 2. Some of the District 2 people were not getting paid the same. I said, that should have been done back in 2005 or whenever the district was consolidated. That was what she told me. And they found $800,000 out of the blue. We didn't support it. I mean, we didn't give it to them. They just used it.
So when consolidation came about, when consolidation came about, District 2 employees were getting paid more than District 17.
Well, you know why? That's why they wanted to consolidate. I worked in District 2 my entire life, and it's like the donut hole.
Yeah.
We were the stepchildren. The city was the people that did it all, and then all of a sudden, what happened? The tax base started moving to the county,
Right.
and now they want to consolidate.
No.
Oh.
Don't lie about they want to consolidate.
Well, somebody wanted to consolidate. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I know who wanted to consolidate.
Senator Levinas, I think.
Yeah.
You want to call him
The
back?
Chamber Education Committee wanted to consolidate because they said consolidation will save us money.
Yeah.
And when that did not save them money, when the new superintendent came and said, I need help to cover this $5.5 billion deficit that I inherited from these school districts, we turned our back on it. So don't get it.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Please, let's move on with the agenda. So we know where we are.
Committee? Where we at? Committee?
Committee report. Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have no committee report.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Out of respect for your comment about potentially trying to work out something with the Penny for Progress, I'm gonna hold my questions on that for this week. Not even gonna ask them, out of respect for what you said about trying to work something out, all right? But I do have some questions on another issue, and then I'll be done for the day. But before I do that, I noticed that, and this is point of personal privilege, I noticed that my youngest son, Jared, has just popped in from Winthrop on me, surprisingly. And I'm always glad to see my youngest child. So Jared, it's good to see you. Just wave your hand so folks will know.
Hey, brother.
Hope you did your homework. We'll talk about that later. Jared's a senior at Winthrop, Mr. Chairman. We're real proud of him.
Congratulations.
The last issue that I want to talk about for just a second is also related to Mr. Gettings, and he made a complaint of threats threats and intimidation. And what I'm wondering is, do we have any update on that? Has the county administrator conducted any interviews with all parties and people who may have some knowledge or information? Because that's a very serious accusation,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gettings,
I'm sorry,
they did meet with Mr. Gettings.
is it resolved? And is council gonna get a report? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear you, no.
I said, I ain't heard nothing from nobody on it.
They met with you in person, Mr. Gettings.
Mr. Mixon met with me, and he supposed to meet with you, and y'all supposed to let me know something. I ain't heard nothing yet.
That's not the way I understand it, Mr. Washington, I'm sorry. Mr. Nixon said that, told me it was resolved, so that's the only information I have.
To address that question, I did meet with Mr. Gettings and his wife, along with my assistant, Ms. Dennis. We've taken his complaint as issue, and we've addressed it with personnel that I'm responsible for, and cleared up the issue on our end.
Is Mr. Gettings satisfied with that?
Whenever his wife and he left, that's how I told them that we would address it, and she indicated that she was fine with that. We would address the personnel issue. They still had the issue with the road. They were very clear on that issue, and I told them we were trying to work to resolve that.
Well,
But
that's
the
good.
personnel issue and the road issue are two separate issues.
Right.
I've dealt with the personnel issue as a county administrator. Yes,
Right.
sir.
And if you're working with them on the road, that's extremely good. Thank you, Mr. Administrator. You definitely get points for that. But Mr. Chairman, the other issue that Mr. Gettings had an issue with, feeling like he was being baited to sue and feeling intimidated, that's very serious. And our government cannot be in the business of intimidating or threatening citizens. And we have to get to the bottom of that. And whoever's responsible for that, the county administrator, has a responsibility to deal with that.
I have.
And Mr. Chairman, you know, I'm sitting there on this body, and I don't want people in this audience to think that one of them 4 councilmen was me. Now, it wasn't I. Was it you, Councilman Washington? Were you one of the 4?
No, it was reported to me.
Yeah, were you one of the 4, Councilor McGann? So, then you know who the 4
Why don't you ask
was.
me? You wanna ask the rest of them, ask me too.
Okay, then we know who the 4 was.
Then I do know I was not one, because I had never talked to Mr. Gettings. Except I was telling good evening one night, he wouldn't say good evening back. Other than that,
I wonder why.
I don't care.
Monthly reports, Mr. Andrew.
Just a second. South Carolina Association of Counties, we're gonna having its meeting on Monday, July 29th through August 1st. Our council members, if you have any questions about your classes, I have given you a folder that looks like this. And if any wives are in the audience, Mrs. Washington or any of the other, please make sure that they get this as well. Thank you. And additionally, Tandem Health will be having, save the date, Tandem Health National Health Center Week Legislative Luncheon. If council members are interested in attending, please let me know, and then we need to let them know as quickly as possible if you're going to attend. I also received information about Emmanuel United Methodist Church at a golf tournament. Please look at that material and let me know if you plan to participate, and that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Nixon.
Just a couple items, sir. First, it was mentioned last meeting that we had some issues with our webpage, particularly related to the penny. We're reworking that. We are in the process of doing a total new website design. We're contracted to do that service, but what we've done is gone back and looked at the old information, tried to clean up as much as we possibly could and remove some of the old data. As of yesterday, or as of today, we have not received that final opinion from the AG. I had Brian contact them yesterday, and we're expecting a phone call back from them. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Coming on to the public comment portion of the agenda, citizens desiring to speak during public comment are limited to 2 minutes. Please address all comments to the chair. Any questions will be answered after the meeting. Public comment is now open. If you wish to speak, please proceed to the podium and state your name for the record. Go ahead.
My name is Wayne Gibbs. Ms. White, we appreciate your help and all that. You do a thorough stuff. My name's been called in here a good bit tonight. Mr. Mixon, would you like to tell them whose names I told you that day? Or you
No, sir, that's a personnel matter.
Okay, so you don't want to say that. If y'all want to find out, maybe we can talk to him about that.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, council members. I am in receipt of your letter, and I'm here today to talk about Pinnacle Progress and the rural roads. Your response was to thank 4 of your fellow council members along with your vote for allowing citizens an opportunity to voice their opinions regarding the capital project sales tax by voting in the November election, your statement. However, I agree, you are correct. All voters will have that opportunity November 5th, 2024. Sumter County residents in the rural areas are sick and tired of being sick and tired about their rural road being ignored by elected officials and only acknowledged when election time comes again. Something must be done to 2 roads in our rural community. Patriot Park has no problem, along with certain other communities, appears to be of greatest concern to a majority of council members. What is in the PFP in the rural communities of Dazzle, Lynchburg, Pinewood, and Wedgefield? They have been ignored on every Sumter County P for P. We pay net taxes and get nothing, absolutely nothing in return. Over the next few weeks and up to the November election, we will be paying close attention to this issue. We know some of you are not up for re-election, however, will be in 2 years. No money for rural roads again. The other issue that I had is with public participation from the community, from these same voters you all are asking to approve this P for P. You disrespect them. You continue to whisper to each other while they're sharing their concerns. And the last time, 2 of them got up and walked out. This is a disrespect to the people. Constituents deserve to have their issues addressed with dignity and respect by any elected body. Constituents are voters. Sumter rural residents pay taxes and vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kilgore.
Good evening. Originally, I wanted to talk about the dirt roads and the fact that paving a road,
State your name for the record.
Linda Hasty, paving a road is less expensive than having to keep a bulldozer going around down and cleaning it. But then y'all did the thing about Bird Road today. We just got the letters yesterday. They said that we were going to have a meeting on the 23rd. So while you already voting on a situation that the people on Bird Road just found out about. I grew up on Bird Road. And why all of a sudden you want to make it agriculture when it has been an agricultural road all of my life? It's been, cows there, there's a horse farm there. My cousins still have their farms there. So it amazed me that you voted on something before the people who actually live on the road even get to hear why you want to change the commercial, the destination of it, when it's always been agriculture area. That's all you can put there. But with the dirt roads, the constant grading, that's a waste of money. And I was looking at Iowa, which did a survey on how dirt roads are used. And the fact that it takes 4 times the money to maintain a dirt road than it is to maintain a paved road. A paved road will last 20 to 25 years without major problems, where that a dirt road has to be done every 6 months to a year, depending on where you live. So we need to consider all of that in considering what road to do, and we know you must do the roads that are most dangerous to people, where the water, where it washes out and someone driving down the road don't even see the pothole. They're hurt, their car is torn up. So, and it cuts down on the amount of time it takes to get to work if you would pave some of these roads. So I ask that you look into those situations and see our money should go where we need it to be. And all these places that you're building out in the county, they're on paved roads, and the county will eventually take those roads over at a certain point in time. So while they're going to get luxury, and we who live here all of our lives get treated like we don't live here, we're unimportant.
Councilman, Councilman, staff, and UQ Public. I'm here to talk again about George Bates, Westfield. Sorry. I'm here to talk again about maybe getting us some more deputies, some more cars out there in the county, response times. It just doesn't seem like there's a very good response time when you call and ask the sheriff's department to come out to your residence. I've talked to other people on Cougar Way and Legendary, and when they've asked for the sheriff's department to come out, it generally seems to take a long time for them to come out. More equipment, more cars, more deputies, maybe even, some supervisors going out there and cruising the roads. I'm sure if you ask them, they'll tell you also there's a lot of roads that need a lot of work, a lot of repair work done on them. And of course, you have to get beaten to death on this issue. But if we're going to have all these businesses in Sumter County and Sumter City, they're tractor trailers, they're heavy trucks, they're busting up the roads. Get some potholes on them, gets a little wet, the water gets underneath. Later on in the year, it'll freeze up, and there comes right up off the ground. Asphalt goes over to the side, and there's a big pothole. So, we need to be smarter. If you're going to repair a road, if you're going to pave a road, if you're going to overlay a road, move the dirt piled up on the side so the water does not stay on the road. When that water seeps up underneath the road and freezes, there goes the overlay. Thank you for listening. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mara Washington. You probably can guess I'm back about the dozer purchase. I have in my possession a memo from Robert Galloway, Purchasing Director, to the procurement file on the 2016 Caterpillar D6 TXL. And it has on here waste, but not sure about that. I have not gotten the specs on it. I actually ran the specs online, and waste does not come up. I'm not certain why that is there. But anyway, in the memo, it says that Ms. Hyatt asked for assistance with the purchase bulldozer around middle of March 2022-24. I'm not sure what that means, but I know we had first reading on this March 26th, and March 22nd would have been that Friday, so how, it got on the agenda over the weekend or somehow miraculously, I don't know how that happened. But anyway, it says, it's not really the proper piece of equipment for pushing compacted construction. She had hoped to purchase a proper construction debris bulldozer 2 years ago to replace the bulldozer that stopped working 5 or 6 years ago, and had a quote for a new one, but that capital expense request was not funded. I clearly want to know why it was not funded, particularly when there was money in the waste fund reserve account. And I would also like to know how much that quote was. I know that we are provided a quote here on a so-called comparable new piece of equipment, but it is not. The model that's quoted is not comparable to the XL model. It's like comparing a Nissan to a Mercedes. Also, it goes on to say that in pursuing an alternate course, she asked staff representative at Caterpillar to search nationwide for a used but refurbished and warranted landfill bulldozer to reduce the purchase price. Miraculously, Blanchard Machinery in March found one after 2 years. It took them 2 years to find a 2016 D60 XL. No, there's no waste abbreviation there because that's not how it goes. I don't know why it says otherwise, but anyway, it goes on to say that he preliminarily determined that the normal daily operation of the Sumter County landfill was affected by the poor performance and downtime, and the only refurbished warranted bulldozer available at a reasonable price was the one through Blanchard. But we didn't give it to any other vendors. We violated the protocol. I've asked these questions numerous times and I got more, but I'm going to remain after this meeting to get this clear in my head, because there are a lot of other issues I want to talk about, but this has to be resolved because, again, it's a fiscal irresponsibility is what I see, and this letter is covering up something because the quote comes in on May 1, so I don't know how you have a quote from May 1 and a report as of April 24. I mean, that's after the fact. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't say that the Public Works Department had a monthly report in there, and it had some information on what council members might be interested in.
Anyone else? Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Move for adjournment.
Second, that we adjourn. We are adjourned.